in 20 seconds, people should start dropping in. And let's see how much people we are able to get today. It's like everything is run here, so there's like a lot of different sessions. And they have 200, which is done a good job. So this is like the only problem we've been having this far is because these sessions are so close to each other, so it takes a time for people to get away from the last session and then to join the next one. So there should be like a couple of minutes in between or some buffer maybe.
Around fast.
No, the first one has joined. Looks good. Okay, hello everyone who is joining. Let's give it a couple minutes for everyone who wants to join from the beginning, the ability to join. So people are tuning in from earlier sessions. So let's wait 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll get started. Yeah. Cool. I guess we're good to go. Good to start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Edtech 101, a parallel event organized together by Ambitious Africa and Planet here as part of the African Innovation Week. My name is Ronnie Eriksson. I'm one of the co-founders and contributors of Ambitious Africa. Together here at Valo Hotel and Works with Peter Westbrook. And today we have a really special day in front of us. So the African Innovation Week started yesterday. Really amazing different concepts, different ideas are being taught during this week. And we have had the opportunity now with Ambitious Africa to be one of the co-organizers of this year's African Innovation Week. And we have strongly joined this year with the part of Edtech. And now together with Planet and with other Nordic and African Edtech organizations, we have built a 3-hour-long program where we'll be introducing a bit of different things that have to do with Edtech, where Edtech is right now, how Edtech has changed and is changing now during the pandemic times, and where we are in Edtech, especially looking early at the early childhood education, but then also moving over to more Edtech innovation ecosystems and what is happening there. And today's program is pretty straightforward. It's divided in 3 different sessions. This first one is an introduction session where I will give first the introduction about today's program. Then Peter will follow with a short introduction about Ambitious Africa, the work we've been doing the last 5 months, why we're doing it, and how Edtech is actually a part of this triple-E model that we've been leveraging the past 5 months. After this, we will have a short video introduction, 20 minutes from Olli-Pekka Heinonen, Peter, and Leena Pöntynen, talking about the This Works course that has been built by Teknologia Teollisuus here in Finland, or Technology Finland. And this course is about kind of like providing early childhood education, the knowledge about technology. But Peter will also give a bit more introduction to that, and the video will clarify what it's all about. But in short, the idea is to roll out this gift from Finland to all around the world. And we're on a good way already with that process and started, for example, in Kenya together with KEPSA to do that process. After this, our partner in crime, Vesa from Planet, will do a short introduction about the kind of like post-pandemic times, how Edtech has kind of like evolved in that time. And this will kind of create the basis then for the 2 different panel sessions that will follow. So after this first session, we will continue with 2 panel sessions. just to say correctly every topic here. So the first one is EdTech, leading with efficiency and impact in early childhood education. This session will be moderated by Mariam Shodainde, the CGO at Planet. And we will have 4 amazing panelists with different understanding, with different knowledge within the early education field. After this, we will follow with another 1-hour panel session. This one will be moderated by Chris Hutchinson from Planet Group, one of the learning designers there. And we will have 5 amazing speakers, both from the African continent and from the Nordic continent, talking a bit how these different innovation ecosystems are formulated and where we are in that kind of process right now. And after this, the Deal Room platform actually allows us to have these one-on-one meetings. So if you wish to meet with me, Peter, with Vesa, or with any one of the panelists or moderators, you're able to book the meetings in the Deal Room part, and we're happy to meet with you and discuss all these different things more in detail. Good. But now to get started with the program, I'm going to give the word over to Peter. Peter can introduce shortly himself, and after that give a short introduction about what Ambitious Africa is, why are we here today, and what we've been doing the past 5 months. Peter, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. And so as always, excited to be here, and it's great to see so many online today. And start by we're talking about EdTech, but I think that technology is important, but I think that it's all about learning, and we should really look at kind of like getting our act together when it comes to kind of like making learning fun and also through that like more efficient. But one thing, and we'll hear more about that in kind of like the upcoming panels, and we can look at like what we're doing kind of like over here in Finland, Nordic countries, and how we're now working together with all our friends over there on the African continent. And this is actually also what we've been doing now with Ambitious Africa. So what we decided to do, we've been looking at this for kind of like many years, but last July I met with our new Minister of Trade and Development, Ville Skinnari, and then the Finnish government has been looking at doing like more in Africa and putting together a proper Africa strategy and all of that. And then Ville is not only like a minister, and politician, but he actually used to be in the startup world, so kind of like myself. And that's actually where I first met Ville. And I think that it's always great that we get more entrepreneurs and more of a like entrepreneurial thinking into government as well. But anyway, so told Ville that hey, we should look at doing things a bit differently, and why don't we apply kind of like the kind of thinking that we have in the startup world, also to working together, Finland, Nordic countries, all of the EU, and then Africa and AU and all of that. So kind of like that on more like official side, but actually then bringing this startup mindset, entrepreneurial thinking to the table, and involving most importantly the youth, and that's actually then what we decided to do, and also decided to be a bit more ambitious. Hence, the name and the brand, Ambitious Africa, and you can find out more if you go to ambitious.africa. So there's a bunch of stuff what we've kind of been doing last few months on there. But yeah, then maybe a bit about myself. So I've been an entrepreneur kind of like all my life, and I always like to say that I started kind of like working at the original startup. So that was kind of like the company that Bill and Dave started in their now famous garage in Palo Alto in California, all the way back in 1939, before my time for the younger part of the audience. So wasn't around when Bill and Dave started their company in that famous garage. But that was Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, and they started HP, Hewlett Packard, in that famous garage in Palo Alto in California. And the garage is, by the way, still there. So if you have your way over there, go check it out. It's not a very kind of like big or impressive garage, but of course, what came out of there is very impressive because, and actually, if you look at, Bill and Dave, they were, fantastic entrepreneurs because they started that fantastic company, but actually they also started, all of Silicon Valley. So that's where Silicon Valley got started, and that's of course been an inspiration for all of us, especially like in the tech industry. So always good place to kind of like check out for inspiration and all of that. But also, I think what is very important is that keeping in mind that Silicon Valley wasn't kind of like created yesterday. So a lot of these things, a lot of these transformations take a while. So there are very few of these things that happen kind of like overnight. And another thing that wasn't kind of like an overnight success story that I was involved with while I was working at HP, I organized a game making competition. 3 young guys here in Helsinki from Aalto University, Niklas, Kim, and Jarno, took part in that game making competition in 2003, and they actually won it. And then they came to me after winning the competition and say, hey, we're students here at Aalto, and like, what do you think that we should do now that we won this game making competition? And then I said that, hey, I think it's very easy. You should do what you love to do. So the guys loved playing games, but also loved making games. So I said, okay, why don't you start a company to do what you love, making games. So they started this company called Rovio in 2003. And then over the following 6 years, they made 51 games. And then in 2009, the 52nd game came out. And that's a game that some of you might have heard about, Angry Birds. So then I spent 6 years as the mighty eagle at Rovio, and we took that brand to kind of like unprecedented like levels and made it the actually fastest growing consumer brand ever. And if you look at like some of the numbers, 93% of everybody in China, 91% of everybody in India, 9 out of 10 people on the planet, including Africa, knows the brand. So not too bad for something that was started by 3 young guys, here in Helsinki, in Finland. But I think it's very inspirational because it's a great example of the fact that there are very few things like on this planet that are actually impossible. So they just went out there, started a company. Okay, they ended up spending 6 years and making 51, not 1 or 2 or 3 games before, but actually 51 games before the 52nd one. But still, they made that the fastest growing consumer brand ever. And I think that that is kind of a great example of, again, going out there, doing things. And for me, entrepreneurs are people who do. Entrepreneurship is all about getting stuff done. And that's actually what we're doing here with Ambitious Africa, and what we have been doing since we kicked off with our first Ambitious Africa event back in April when we launched Ambitious Africa in Rwanda. And since then, we've actually launched in 25 countries altogether. So we have Ambitious Africa teams kind of like on the ground getting stuff done. And then you might ask, like, okay, so what exactly are you doing, and what is this all about? So Ronnie already mentioned that we've been looking at this kind of triple E model for transformation. So education, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. So these 3 E's that are very, very core to kind of like any kind of transformation. Education, obviously, foundation for everything. And coming from Finland, we are known for having one of the best, if not the best, educational system on the planet. So I think that there's a lot that we can talk about, and we can share, and we can work together on various things around education, as we're doing the event today, sharing some lessons and some learnings that we've had here over the last 50 or so years, or you could say like 100 years of like while we've been independent here in Finland. So like we're a very young nation. But yeah, anyway, education is kind of like an obvious one. Entrepreneurship, it doesn't matter if you have the best education on the planet if you're not doing anything with it. So very, very important to kind of like do stuff. And also, if you ask any entrepreneur what they're up to, more often than not, they will say that, hey, gonna change the world. So I think that's what most entrepreneurs will tell you. Small part, big part, like the whole thing. It varies. But then entertainment, I think, is also important because we can learn a lot from the entertainment industries, from the guys in Hollywood about movies. We can learn a lot from, games industry and what we are doing there, and how you engage your audience, how you engage your fans. And not only, that they download a game and they play it once, but how do you keep them coming back every day, or ideally like many times a day? So really, how do you create that kind of engagement, and how do you create that kind of addiction? So we really want to create, solutions and experiences that make people addicted to learning. So I think that is very, very strong thing to do, and we can learn a lot from kind of like our friends in the games industry, but entertainment in general. How do you reach not just a few, but like everybody on the planet? So you reach billions of people through entertainment. And also, it's good to keep in mind that we're always competing for people's time. So people can, instead of watching us here, you could, boot up Netflix, watch the latest and greatest movie or TV show or whatever, or like just start playing a game on your phone. So we're always competing for the attention for the time, and we need to keep this in mind when we're working on education. That is the competition, and we need to create learning experiences that are as good as the best games. Then, if we go back to this kind of like transformation, youth, the young people leading the charge for this, I always use this example of what we did here in Finland back in 2008. We started something called Slush, and for those of you who haven't checked out Slush, that is the biggest and best startup event on the planet. So we started in 2008 with about 300 people attending, and now last year we had over 20,000 people from 160 countries attending Slush in Helsinki in November. And actually, we didn't create Slush to make biggest and best startup event. We actually started that because we needed to fix something over here in Finland. So in 2007, I gave a talk to 600 students at Aalto University about entrepreneurship, about startups. And then I asked the students that, okay, how many of you guys are gonna start a company or join a startup once you graduate, or even before, which is also perfectly okay. So then in 2007, out of 600 students, only 3 raised their hand to indicate that, okay, yeah, they'll start a company or they'll go and work for a startup. Everybody else wanted to go and work for like a big corporation. Nokia was doing great, so why not go to Nokia or Wärtsilä or Finnair or one of the big corporations here in Finland, or maybe the government. Nothing wrong with that. But challenge, of course, is that we all know that the innovation and the renewal and like all the cool new stuff doesn't typically come from the big organizations. That those are more there to maintain the status quo, and I mean that's also fine. But we need people that will challenge the status quo. So instead of having just like dinosaurs around, we need to have the small furry animals. We need to have the startups. So that's why we started Slush. We wanted to change the mindset, the attitude. And what's really cool that then 5 years after we started Slush, went back to Aalto, same presentation, same question. How many of you guys are going to start a company, join a startup? And actually more than half raised their hand. So we did this cultural like revolution, this big transformation, just 5 years. Then you might ask that, okay, so what's the big deal? What is different here? And actually with Slush, already the brand kind of like communicates like the difference. While everybody else was and I would say is busy doing all of these kind of like wannabe Silicon Valley events. You go to Beijing, they will tell you that they want to be the Silicon Valley of China. You go to Tokyo and you will hear that, okay, Tokyo will become the Silicon Valley of Asia. And as I said in the beginning, I started my career at the original startup and like where Silicon Valley got started. Silicon Valley, fantastic place, but it's already there. So you can't kind of like lead by following or lead by copying your way into leadership. So you really need to kind of like do new things. And that's also why we decided to do Slush in November. So every year in November, we have Slush in Helsinki. And actually Slush, not just the event, but also like the substance, this not so pleasant mix of snow and water. So that's Slush. And when you come to Helsinki in November, immediately when you land, you will realize that it's cold, it's dark, there is slush on the ground. So it's not the Silicon Valley, it's better. And it's better because it's different. Okay, why is Slush different? Because it's since the beginning been organized by young people, by young volunteers who are there not because somebody told them to be there. They are there because they want to be there, they love to be there. And it's a massive like learning experience. Last year we had 2,600 volunteers from more than 60 countries. They make Slush happen. So you spend a few years volunteering at Slush, you learn how to build the biggest and best startup event on the planet. And after that, you go out there and you build, guess what? The biggest and best startups on the planet. So again, you learn how to do those things. So now back to Ambitious Africa, we want to take that kind of approach. We want to make sure that we put the young people in charge. And we want to make sure that the young people can lead this transformation. So when you ask, me or anybody here, Ronnie or anybody on the Ambitious Africa team, like what exactly are you doing? Then we say, okay, we're going to transform Africa in the next 5 years. It's like, yeah, right. We've heard this, like before. And who do you think you are? And again, there's like some white guys, coming and telling us what to do. Actually, we are not. We want to work together. That's what I was talking about. Like we have the teams on the ground, 2 young people, from say Nairobi, 2 young people from Nordic countries. Same thing in, in Kigali, in Harare, in Lusaka. So we have a local team that consists of 2 local young people, 2 young people from Nordic countries working together, creating this super connectivity between, the African continent and the Nordic countries. And I actually always share this story about like what it's all about and why this is different. Just like slush, the cold, dark slush on the ground, not the Silicon Valley, better. So the better here in Ambitious Africa example is again that we're really, really putting the young people in charge of leading this. And this is why I started by mentioning that, okay, we got support from Ville Skinnari, our Minister of Trade and Development. Ville has been in about half of our events live. And then when he couldn't make it, we shared a video of Ville. And because of that, we have also always had participation from local government, local ministers. And I think this is very, very important. And kind of like what I always say, half jokingly, but also very serious, that it's our job to, as the slightly older people, to make sure that we keep the older people and the governments out of the way while the young people change the world. And I use as an example that what Jyrki Katainen, our former prime minister, back in 2014, he went to this World Economic Forum meeting in Dalian in China. And he was talking about, or had this roundtable discussion about entrepreneurship. And then in the audience, you had, ministers, important business people. I mean, former Prime Minister of the UK, Gordon Brown, was there, and then a bunch of other ministers, and the kind of crowd, important people, if you will, as you would expect at this World Economic Forum meetup. And then Jyrki was talking about like the experience in Finland, how we made, this kind of like transformation happen, and in such a short time. And somebody then asked me like, oh, but how exactly did you do that? How did you create this explosion in entrepreneurship and startups and like all of that? How did you make it happen? And then Jyrki Katainen, Prime Minister of Finland, answers, I don't know. And of course, he knew. He's been to, Slush many times, and even one year we even painted his fingernails, which is, like you can't do that in every country, male prime minister and painting his fingernails. We did that because we were promoting this guitar and music learning like application. So again, a bit of Edtech at Slush back in the day. But anyway, Jyrki wanted to make the point that it wasn't him, it wasn't the government, it was the young people. It was the young people that made the change and this transformation happen. And this is actually what Ambitious Africa is all about. It's making sure that the young people can make this change happen. They can lead the transformation. And then we are only here to, help whenever needed. Hopefully we can, provide some advice, some mentoring based on kind of like our experience. But the most important thing here is that this is not something that we can do on behalf of people. It's something that has to kind of like be done from the grassroots, bottoms up, in Kenya, in Rwanda, in Zimbabwe, in Liberia, in Namibia, all over the place. And we're already doing some amazing projects. Ronnie mentioned this works project. We'll hear a bit more in the panel discussion coming up about that. So that is actually like an innovation program for first grade students that did together with Tech Finland. So they made that happen. So it was teachers, for teachers providing this content. And if you go to thisworks.fi, you can see what that is all about. But it's actually, again, making learning fun. And you can see kind of like that it's designed like the best games would be. So it has that kind of like look and feel to it. But yeah, anyway, so we are kind of like taking on a pretty massive like task here. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and already been a lot of fun, but I look forward to doing much more. And I think that we have amazing opportunity to work together around education. So let's kind of like join forces here and make stuff happen. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Peter. And next up, we actually have a short keynote or fireside from the This Works people behind it. So there's Leena Pönttinen, Olli-Pekka Heinonen, and Peter talking. So every one of you knows that Peter is this kind of person that you find everywhere. And now there's going to happen something spectacular as Peter will teleport to this other studio and we'll see him there talking about This Works. So let's move over to that for the next around 20 minutes. And then we'll continue with the CEO and founder of Planet Group, Vesa Perälä. So just in a minute, I'll start sharing the video. Enjoy it, and we'll continue in a bit.
I have two guests talking with me about this. I have the Secretary General of National Board of Education in Finland and former Finnish Minister of Education, Olli-Pekka Heinonen. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And then I have the mighty eagle of Rovio, the guy with the red hoodie.
Former mighty eagle, but yeah.
Yes, Peter Westerpakka, welcome.
Hey, thanks.
I want to start with Olli-Pekka. What are your first impressions on this project?
Well, I think it's an excellent way to combine the kind of what we sometimes call in Finland phenomena-based learning, kind of bring the different subjects of STEAMs all together in a curious way, kind of a learner-centered way, and I think that works.
Yeah, that works. Peter, you are here because of you're one of the founders of Fun Academy. How is Fun Academy attached to this project?
Yeah, so I mean, we have long experience going back to kind of like our days at Rovio and Angry Birds, so around entertainment and fun, and actually making learning fun. And at Fun Academy, we've been looking at like early years education, but one thing that we have been doing there is we have created some amazing characters. So again, taking the lessons from the entertainment and games industry, how to make the material and everything engaging and attractive. I mean, with games, it's always not only how to get people to download your game, but how to make sure that they come back, you know, every day and ideally many times a day. And this is something that we have contributed from the Fun Academy side, that we provided our characters to the project to again make it look amazing and make it appeal to a big audience. And we all know that our kids have so many things that they can do, so we're competing for the attention, for the time. So we wanted to make sure that this works, looks as good as the best games, as the best entertainment out there. And I think that the feedback has been, you know, phenomenal. So it's like it's
Do you think why STEAM education is so important right now?
Well, I think it's quite a kind of easy explanation. Because what kind of technology is, it's kind of we are outsourcing our thinking to the surroundings. And I think it was Winston Churchill who once said that we kind of first create a building and then the building shapes us. So it's an interrelation that the kind of technology and science we use, it also shapes us. So it's the question, what's the interaction between human and the kind of environment, the technology, and how we learn to cope in that kind of a world. And when the surroundings are changing all the time, it's more and more important for us to understand the technology, how it functions, how we can utilize it in a kind of a sustainable way, whether we talk about economics or whether we talk about kind of ethical backgrounds. I think the future is all about that question, that how we can build the kind of machine-human interaction, a kind of a good tool for us to create a better future.
That is very interesting because in this works you actually build a machine out of recyclable materials. And now we are talking about first graders. In Finland, the first graders are 7-year-olds. What do you think, both of you? How important is it to bring STEM and this kind of ideas to such young children?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, young children are the best learners on the planet. So, I mean, young children are kind of like by default, they're very curious about their surrounding, they're learning, they're, you know, really like these sponges sucking in like all this information and everything from the environment. So I think that it's very important to start early. And also I think what is amazing, if you look at these works, that the kids learn how to build all of these amazing contraptions and then, you know, out of like everyday items, and then you can like start understanding that, hey, actually I can build amazing things, I can do anything. And I think that we really need to encourage children and actually all of us that, you know, just to show how the world works and how these things, I mean, it's again so much technology around us, and it's not, you know, even though some people say that, you know, like when you do the technology good enough, then it's like magic. But I think that it's important that you understand that actually it's not magic, even though it might feel like magic, but there's actually a lot of work, a lot of engineering, a lot of design, a lot of thinking that goes into that, but also that you see that, hey, I can do that, I can create kind of like the next big thing. And I think that it's great that we now have 7-year-olds, the first graders, going, it's like this, wow, I can make this work.
And if you think about it in a national level, what do you think? We're trying to grab every 7-year-old to create something with friends.
Well, I think it's also a question of kind of equality, that we make it possible for every children in the country. And I totally agree with Peter, the idea that how children experiment and learn through experimenting and by doing things. When we get kind of older, we kind of start thinking that we first have to think and then act. But thinking, changing the way we act. But I think it's so kind of much more effective what children are doing, that they first act, and they, through that acting, they change their way of thinking.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I have this rule. I always say that don't think, do think.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like it's so much more effective if you actually learn by doing.
Yeah.
Because we can all sit behind our desks and we can like punch something into the computer and create the perfect model, but then the world has changed and, you know, it's not a perfect model anymore. So learning by doing is so important. And I think that that's what children do, kind of like it's just like second nature.
Yeah.
Yes. We opened this website in Finland last month. So we have there all the materials in Finnish and in Swedish. And then we also send each and every Finnish classroom these materials that combines stickers, posters, and little guidebook for teacher as well, how to do this. But now, this is in Finnish and Swedish, and now we are going to have it in English as well in thisworks.fi. But we are going to try to take this globally. Like I said, we want to give this to the world for free. What is this?
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, there's no reason why this wouldn't work like everywhere. And I think, you know, I always say people are people and children are children everywhere. So right now we're already in talks with our friends in Kenya. So translating this not only to English, but to Swahili. And I think that there's no reason why this wouldn't work in, you know, Kenya, in Colombia. So we're also working on the Spanish version. And, you know, all over Africa, all over Asia, everywhere. I think children are children everywhere. I mean, that's like the nice thing about this. And I think that it's not only important here in Finland, in Nordics, but it's important everywhere that we learn by doing. And again, you know, if you look at, take, you know, like if you're a kid and you go to school in like Nairobi, I mean, exact same thing, you will learn and you will see that, hey, actually you can build the next, you know, big thing. And I think that it's very important to have that experience. And then, of course, we need to have like great role models and great success stories. But it's so important to show at early age that actually there are very few things that are impossible. And you can make this happen and you can make it work.
And with these imaginary machines the kids are going to build, I think everything will be possible.
Yeah.
The idea is that if you think about technology and you think about the hard problems of the world, technology will be one solution. If you think about global warming or recycling everything, and the children are the key issue here, and their their skills and their motivation to save the world. So our idea is to take this Finnish education and our materials to the world and give it away so that everyone can enhance their STEM learning.
Yeah. I think we have a very strong interest of our own that these kind of materials can be used globally. Because the 7-year-olds, they are the ones who are solving the wicked problems we are having. And when they are doing it, I think that they will have much, much more than we have had, a kind of global identity and citizenship when they are doing it. So it's not the question that it's a kind of national competition, but it's something that we and they need together to solve those challenges. That's the hope that we have.
And also we in Finland, we need the professionals to come to work with us, not only to Finland, but also globally.
Yeah.
When we go to the how part and how are we going to solve these problems, if you think about Finnish curriculum that is well acknowledged in all around the world that we are very good in education, ICT skills are not their own subject, but they are seen as one of the broad-based learning or one of the 21st century skills part there. Is it enough? Should ICT skills or technology in general be thought as its own subject? Or, and is it enough for educational quality that in Finland the teacher has quite a big autonomy to choose what they can do? So is it enough if it's there such as 21st century skill?
Well, I think that what is the thing that we do really need is actually integration. That we are, and we have been kind of very successful in splitting things into parts. And that's very useful. We need that too in the future. But what we're a bit lacking now is that how we bring it all together. And as I said, I think STEAM is an excellent kind of way of doing it. And this kind of material is also kind of very, very valuable in doing it. The kind of ICT skills in Finland, they are part of the transversal competencies and probably one of the most used also ways of kind of how the kind of multidisciplinary learning is done in Finland. So I'm not that eager in kind of having a split, one more subject in a long list of subjects. But at the same time, I think we must work very hard that we get the teachers, the skills, the practices, the materials to integrate the technology and ICT skills, what you can do with what you know with that kind, so it becomes a competence really. And we're not there yet in Finland. We're not ready. And I think this kind of material is a very valuable material for the teachers, again, from the equality point of view.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that integration theme is super important because we really need to have understanding of like the big picture. And also when we talk typically about STEM, not even about STEAM, then it can become very like siloed and you think that, oh, it's like technology and it's only like everybody needs to learn how to code or something like that. But at the same time, I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't use music to learn computational thinking. Sure. And I mean, there's a lot of this kind of like bringing the art technology and into this, and then I think that we are really starting to see, also in the future we'll see amazing new innovations when we actually start looking at the big picture. And I think that is something that we are doing with this works, that we're bringing something that goes across many subjects. I mean, there is music in there as one example, and it's not the first thing that you think about, like, okay, technology and music, I mean, what is going on here, but actually it makes perfect sense because music is like code in the end. So it's not that different, and I think that this is a very important theme, that we need to look at these big like topics, and not just that, okay, learn this little tiny area, because we need that, and you need the experts, but even more we need people who have like the big picture perspective and understand the world. And that's why I'm a huge fan of these works, because it's bringing it all together in a very nice way.
Yeah, we had a lot of teachers doing this project from the early design part to the very end. Even I am a teacher, and actually I did that music material and coding. So as a former music teacher, I was very keen to have something from the art side there as well. If you think about that, we might stand here in education bubble, me and Olli-Pekka. But if you think about the education bubble in Finland, do you think that the teachers do have enough skills on technology and teaching the children technology on their own age level?
So I always answer absolutely not, because I mean, do we have enough skills? And I don't think any of us have enough skills like ever, so we are always learning. I mean, the day you stop learning, you're dead. So I think that you have to learn, and I think that this is no different for teachers. I mean, it's again, the world is changing, and there are so many kind of like new technologies, new things. So of course you have to keep up to date, and you have to kind of like look at how you can apply the latest and greatest like tools and technologies, everything. So it's very tough for a teacher, and actually for all of us. I mean, we need to do our job, and we need to keep up with the latest developments, but it's the only way. And I think that then it's very important that we provide the support, and we can help with that. And again, with this works, this is one way of kind of like you can test some of the things that we have here, how to do like the remote learning and online learning. You can use this as kind of like a test case. Of course, we have now with the COVID-19, we have like a massive test case, and we were forced to do this. But I think that this is again something that we need to support the teachers, and I think that it's great that this work was done by teachers for teachers, because I'm not a teacher, I don't know, like not a pedagogue, and I think that it's very important that we involve the best pedagogues, but also that we involve the best game designers, the best musicians, and all of that. So it's not about like one thing, but it's about bringing all the things together, and again supporting the teachers in their job. And I think that we can do a lot more, and it's not just like kind of like the ministries and the public sector, but I think that this is a great example of public and private sector working together. And again, together I think is like a very important word here, that it's we can't leave the teachers or the students alone. We need to do this together, because we are here together in the end. Even though you're in your bubble, I'm in my bubble, but I mean, we can combine the bubbles, and that's something that's very important. Again, the theme of integration.
That is true. And a funny thing about this is that this is a technology education project, and you don't need any computers to do it. So we try to do it in a way that the equality of education actually works in every school, whether it's in Kenya or in Finland.
Or Colombia.
Or Colombia, yeah. So when we think about the teacher skills, what should we do to make them better learners every day, but make them better to teach the technology to children as well?
Well, I think technology is so many things, because it's a skill. You can see it as a skill, and you can see it as a kind of content that you're teaching, or you can see it as a kind of a tool to learn and teach. And I think we have, in all those fronts, we have a lot to do. The technology is changing so rapidly that the traditional idea that you kind of go to school and you learn the things and then you teach others for the rest of your life, it's kind of, it won't work. So in a way, we have to kind of look at these things as a kind of from the point of view of kind of emergent learning, the idea that the teachers won't have all the right answers. They should be the best experts on the pedagogy side, understanding the children's need, but also they are learning at the process themselves. And that's like the idea with the multidisciplinary learning, for example, that you kind of create authentic content when you learn and authentic kind of solutions. And nobody says beforehand that this will be the outcome. I know the outcome beforehand, and now I'm going to make sure that you know it in the end too. I think we're seeing much more a change from the intended learning to the emergent learning.
The pizza.
The pizza.
Really good. Thank you so much to Mr. Olli-Pekka Heinonen, to Mrs. Elena Pöntynen, and of course to Peter for this amazing introduction about these works. So now we have started off our three-part session with a gift to the whole world, to Africa, and for all those who are listening and who would be maybe interested to help us in reaching most of the African countries and make these works available for all the teachers and children, please contact us. I will share my detailed information here in the chat, and you're able to reach me out through that, or then you can reach out to Maya from our side who is doing that project. But all those details we shared on a bit. We're a bit tight on the time here, so we're moving now right away over to our next speaker, to the partner, to one of the organizers of this event. So Mr. Vesa Perala, the founder and CEO of Planet Group. And Vesa will now give a brief introduction about himself, and then follow that with a short presentation and which gives a basis to this Edtech 101 event today. So a warm welcome, Vesa. It's amazing to have you here. Oh, you're muted, Vesa. So I muted you now. It's good.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen as well. Can you see it? It's coming up now. So can you see it?
Yes.
It's yeah, it's kind of funny actually. It doesn't. Yeah, nothing happens actually.
So if you
Click on the screen share, it should.
Yeah, I'm clicking on that one, but I mean, it doesn't really work at the moment.
if you try now again, so start screen share, and then you should be able to choose the screen that you want to
Okay, now it's started. Can you see it?
see. Fortunately, nothing is coming up.
That's funny. Hey, no, like let me actually leave, and I'll come back in 2 seconds if that typically helps.
Yeah. So we're just waiting a minute for
right.
Vesa to get back on and see if his presentation starts to work.
Does it work now?
No, unfortunately.
No. Hey. Otherwise, we run out of time, I guess. I mean, it's not really the most important thing as such, but I mean, gives a little bit better means for, I mean, sort of concretizing actually what I'm talking about. But let's get started anyway. I mean, as we have like 30 minutes time. So yeah, I mean, my name is Vesa Perala. I'm the founder and CEO of Planet, and I'm going to touch base a little bit on what's been happening in the education technology area lately. I mean, all of us, we know that the COVID-19 has been impacting education. It's been probably the biggest disruption of education in the history of it. And I mean, since the last 6 months or so, I mean, 1.6 billion students have been affected by this pandemic. And that's basically about 91.3% of all the students in the world. So it's a really, really huge thing. And obviously, we've seen a lot of things happening during the months as well. Governments, schools, universities, corporations trying to fix things. Emergency funds have been set up. And but typically, the kind of official answer how to tackle this sort of a situation is always the same. It's been basically pretty much the same for decades already. So the official answer is that, to promote digital learning, fighting pandemic and this sort of disruption. So the official recipe is always that, hey, we need access to internet, we need devices and tools, and we need to be capable of using those tools. And we probably remember the one laptop per child, and different governments buying 1 million iPads and this kind of initiatives. But we've seen really little impact or positive impact of these tools purchases only. And this is something we've been wondering a lot during the months and years. And what we really need is something more. So obviously, these three things I mentioned: hardware, software, access to internet. Those are definitely the basic requirements for doing digital learning or remote learning. But what we really need is something more advanced. We need pedagogically well-produced content, applications, software. We need teachers who are capable of delivering remote learning. We also need capabilities to boost social emotional learning and engagement. And one of the biggest issues what comes to digital learning is that we're simply trying to apply the same methods that we've been using for hundreds of years in the classroom, and we forget the digital elements, the new channel, the requirements, the opportunities it provides. And one of the major things, and this will be discussed more in detail today, is the pedagogy, the way the pedagogy is applied online. And then one of the mantras I keep repeating is the fact that without the pedagogy, we are simply deploying software, and that's not working. I think this sort of thing actually was very well presented in the video. So it's not about one thing; it's about doing things together. It's about combining different kind of things, and the pedagogy is really the key in the remote learning. So to get great learning results, the engagement, the pedagogically well-designed solution, competent teachers, and especially also the possibility to collaborate with your peer students, i.e. the social interaction. These are key things. And now when we've been following remote learning over the last months, these are the exact elements that are actually missing from the delivery of remote learning. And that's something I see with my kids in their schools here in Finland. That's what I hear in different countries in Africa, in Latin America, around the globe. And these are the things we need to be fixing to really get everything out of education technology. As technology is really a great enabler, we just have to be using it properly. And the same thing applies to what comes to governments. No government or and obviously, we can obviously ask, if they should be ready for it. But according to World Bank, for example, no single country have created a digital curriculum for teaching and learning. Only 20% of the countries had some digital learning resources available, but only limited number of schools. And only 10% of the countries had robust digital learning capabilities so that those materials the kids should be using could be also available outside of the schools. So really bad results overall. And these are the things we need to be paying a lot of attention to. And same thing about the Edtech as well. It's been around for a couple of decades already. And I can remember the first promises already back in the mid-90s. It's supposed to be really great and take the learning completely to the new heights. And it's been a disappointment. As an Edtech entrepreneur, it's actually easy to say that it's been a disappointment. Hadn't lived up to the promises made. And the way of doing it is basically a copy of things that have been around already for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And obviously, the whole education area is pretty slow to adapt new technology, but the education technology area hasn't made it easy. And we did cover actually some of those topics already. It's been way too technology driven. The pedagogy has been forgotten. And then it took a pandemic actually to really start changing it. And I mean, before the pandemic, before COVID-19, about 2.5% of the global education market was digitalized. And now it has matured more than 5 years in less than 6 months. And there is no going back anymore. Now the digitalization is finally happening. And the impact is something I see myself every day when I'm selling our solutions to customers around the world. There is no need to explain why somebody should be going digital. Now the question is about how do we do it well? And doing it well takes those things I mentioned already, and the most important one being pedagogically solid ways of deploying the technological elements. And that's something which will be changing the way we deliver education, the way we deliver education technology. And I stole a quote from Credit Suisse actually this morning, and they actually say that we are living a Netflix moment at the moment. And the direct quote is that we are now at the Netflix moment of education, for education, the point where the traditional education system is about to be disrupted. And this can be a very positive thing, but I mean, we have to be doing it together. I mean, it takes education providers, it takes governments, it takes edtech companies, content producers, and I mean, we need to understand how to do it. And these things I've been mentioning, it's very much about complete learning solutions. You have the platforms, you have the different tools, you need to be applying learning design, so how to make the learning engaging and effective. Data is a very important thing, analyzing how things are going, improving them based on the data, based on measured facts. And obviously then the content, and content in a very, very wide perspective, not just the text material, but games and simulations, 360 pictures, interactiveness, immersive solutions. All these have to work together. And that's something we are doing. And actually, I really feel that this should be something Finland should be doing as a whole. I mean, not in an isolated bubble, because it's a global thing. But that's something we've been doing really well in the classroom. And in my opinion, this should be something we start now doing digitally as well. And that's something, I mean, I'm really glad to be the ambassador for this sort of a thing, and very warmly inviting all the players, not just in Finland or in the Nordics, to join this movement of changing things and doing it right from the pedagogical perspective. Because basically, it's only about moving people from their current competencies to future competencies, making it as easy and effective to cross this learning gap they have, and then deliver personalized or personally relevant learning for everyone. And that's something, I mean, we've been doing in 44 countries already. Well, it's not really that different. Some of our best customers who use data most intensively are in Zambia, Uganda, in African countries. And then, well, I mean, some of the less advanced ones are right here in Finland. So this is a really great chance for every learner, teacher, organization, as well as countries to lift up the level of education, do it in a very, very scalable manner. And all it takes is to really start understanding what are those underlying things, the most important things, to really make that technological part the enabler and not just a component that keeps deployed and then it fails. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much that you took the time to join us here today, and thank you for the help and all the help that you've been giving us by setting up this event today. And amazing introduction here from Vesa to the event. And actually, the beautiful part is here that Planet will follow us through in the whole event. We will have Planet people, employees, activists there to actually moderate all the panel sessions that we have. So Planet will be present, even though Vesa now steps out for the moment. But thank you so much, Vesa, for the introduction. Thank you to Peter. Thank you to everyone participating in this first session. And now it's time to move over to our next session. So our first fireside chat or panel session focusing on the early childhood education. So see you all in 1 minute in the next session. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to Ambitious Africa, and a big thank you to ClanEd and African Innovation Week for making this possible. Bye-bye.
See you.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you,
Bye.
Peter. Bye-bye.